Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking closely at bringing real-world assets, things like real estate, maybe commodities, into decentralized finance, DeFi.
Yeah, and the specific project we're digging into is Plume. Their goal is exactly that.
Right, and our focus within Plume is something called Plume Passport. It sounds pretty central to their whole approach.
It absolutely is. Think of Plume Passport as a specialized smart wallet. It's built specifically for RWAs.
Okay, so not just any smart wallet. What makes it special for these assets?
It's got custody and compliance kind of baked right in. The idea is to make holding RWAs way more dynamic, more usable within DeFi itself.
So it's like giving these assets, which might represent something physical, actual utility on the blockchain.
Exactly. It's their passport to navigate and, interact within the DeFi world smoothly and compliantly.
Got it. So our mission for this deep dive is really to understand how Plume Passport aims to unlock that utility, simplifying custody, compliance, and enabling that DeFi interaction, that composability.
Precisely. And we're drawing this from Plume's own materials, looking at their overview and the specifics they've detailed about the passport itself.
Okay, let's start with the problem they're trying to solve. The sources mention that right now a lot of tokenized RWAs are kind of stagnant.
That's a good way to put it. They exist maybe on-chain, but you can't easily plug them into, say, a DeFi lending protocol or use them for staking. Their potential is really limited.
It feels like having, I don't know, shares in a building, but not being able to use that value easily for anything else in your digital financial life.
Right. You can't just use it as collateral easily or earn extra yield on it within the DeFi ecosystem like you might with, say, ETH or stablecoins.
So what are the main roadblocks? Why are they stagnant? Is it just technical limitations?
It's partly technical, but it really stems from the nature of RWAs themselves. Unlike crypto, their value, their yield, it comes from the real world, off-chain.
Ah, okay. So that brings in things like legal stuff,
Yeah,
custody. How do you get the rent from a tokenized building onto the blockchain compliantly?
exactly. Custody, compliance, depending on jurisdiction, distributing that external yield on-chain. These are complex hurdles. Existing DeFi infra just wasn't really built with all that in mind.
You often end up needing workarounds, maybe intermediaries, which kind of defeats the purpose of decentralization sometimes.
Precisely. So that's the challenge. Plume Passport is designed to address head-on.
Okay, so how does it do that? What's the mechanism?
The core idea, as we mentioned, is embedding custody and compliance inside the smart wallet.
Right, within the passport itself.
Yes. Instead of having those as separate, potentially clunky layers, they integrate them. The aim is to make the user experience much, much smoother.
And this ties into something potentially game-changing, right? Because RWAs generate yield differently than native crypto. It's external yield, rent, interest, things like that.
That's the key difference. This exogenous yield adds a whole layer of complexity. How do you manage it? How do you distribute it in DeFi? And crucially, how do you do it while following all the rules and regulations?
Which can vary wildly depending on the asset and where you are.
Absolutely. Plume Passport tries to abstract away a lot of that complexity.
Abstract away, meaning it hides it from the user.
In a sense, yes. By handling the tricky parts, the custody rules, the compliance checks inside the wallet, it lets you, the user, interact with your RWA in DeFi much more like you would with regular crypto.
Okay, I think I'm seeing the aha moment here. It's about unlocking composability.
That's the word, composability.
So instead of just holding a token representing, say, a piece of art, you could maybe use that token, combine it with other DeFi protocols.
Exactly. Imagine using a token representing a fraction of a commercial property as collateral for a DeFi loan.
Okay.
And maybe the rental income automatically flows through the passport to help service that loan, all within a framework that respects the necessary compliance steps.
That kind of integration is largely missing today for RWAs, right?
Very much so. It's quite fragmented. Now, the tech they're using to achieve this is also quite interesting. It's not just about smart contracts on top.
What are they doing differently?
They're actually incorporating custom code directly into the user's account, the externally owned account, or EOA,
Yeah.
by using a modified version of the Go Ethereum client, or Geth. That's the software many Ethereum-compatible chains run on.
Whoa, okay. Modifying the base client software. That sounds like a pretty big step. Why go that route instead of just using, say, account abstraction via smart contracts?
It's definitely a more fundamental approach, but doing it this way at the client level unlocks some specific benefits.
It is.
Things like gasless transactions for certain actions, more automation built right into the wallet, the ability to batch transactions together more efficiently.
Okay. Efficiency and potentially lower costs. What else?
A key thing is user control. With this method, you, the user, have more direct control over these wallet extensions rather than relying entirely on external smart contracts, which could add other dependencies or points of failure.
So it aims for a smoother interaction with dApps and DeFi protocols.
Yeah, without sacrificing the security or flexibility you need when dealing with these valuable assets. It's a more integrated feel.
Okay, so this deeper integration, this self-custody focus. The Plume materials talk about limitless possibilities for RWA. RWA real-world asset finance in DeFi. What could that actually look like in practice?
Well, think about tailoring functions specifically for different RWAs. Managing tokenized carbon credits might need different features than tokenized private equity, right?
Sure, there are different beasts.
This built-in flexibility allows for that kind of customization, and it enables more advanced automated workflows within DeFi.
Like the rent automatically going into a lending pool example.
Exactly like that. Imagine presetting rules within your passport. If market condition X is met, automatically shift yield from asset Y into protocol Z's. That level of automation becomes more feasible.
That definitely paints a clearer picture of the potential beyond just holding the asset. And security is obviously critical here.
Absolute paramount.
The sources mention audits by Trail of Bits.
Yes, they've had a full audit on the smart wallets, and apparently there's another one currently underway with Trail of Bits as well.
That's reassuring. Getting reputable third-party validation is key for building trust.
Especially when you're bridging the gap between real-world value and the digital realm, you need that robust security foundation.
So zooming out, connecting this to the bigger picture. This approach by Plume Passport, embedding compliance and custody, it really could be a fundamental change for how RWAs interact with DeFi.
It feels like a significant step towards RWA composability, yes. Bringing these traditionally illiquid assets into DeFi with potentially the same kind of flexibility and utility as native crypto assets. That's the goal.
That's a huge ambition.
It is. And it seems they're actively looking for partners to build out this ecosystem. The materials mention a Partner with Us section, suggesting they want integrations to help unlock this whole RWA5 vision.
Right, building the network effect. So let's try and summarize what we've covered in this deep dive on Plume Passport. We've seen they're tackling that big challenge.
Yeah.
Making real-world assets truly usable in decentralized finance.
And their core method is embedding compliance and custody directly into these specialized smart wallets, the passports.
Which aims to break down the barriers that currently make many RWAs stagnant, unlocking their utility and making them composable within DeFi.
Using some clever tech, including modifications at the client level, to enable things like gasless actions, automation, and better user control, all while keeping security front and center with audits.
Right. It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? We'll leave you with this thought. If this works, if a whole range of traditionally stuck assets, real estate, infrastructure, maybe even intellectual property, could flow smoothly into DeFi protocols.
What happens next? What kinds of completely new financial instruments could emerge? What new markets? What opportunities?
And, of course, what are the hurdles? Scaling this up, handling the sheer variety of assets, ensuring adoption, and navigating that complex global regulatory landscape.
Yeah, those are the big questions. It's certainly a fascinating space to watch. Lots of potential, but also significant challenges ahead.